The movie kicks off a motel in Alaska, where a man named Winston is in an isolated building alone. Soon after, he heard a noise coming from his window, so he goes to check it out, only to find a wild animal outside. He quickly went back to his bed to rest, only for some FBI agents to burst in to arrest him. Just then, Deputy Marshal named Madeline Harris arrived at the scene. Winston has been dealing with a crime boss named Moretti. In an effort to save himself, Winston offers to make a deal with him in order to testify against his boss in exchange for full immunity and a lot of protection from the FBI. However, since the offer seems fair, Madeline agrees to this. Afterwards, she made a call to inform her boss regarding Winston's offers, which they also accepted. Quickly, Madeline informed Winston that it would take at least a few days before they leave. Soon after, Winston demanded to use the toilet, which Madeline also escorted him to use. After a few days, Madeline escorts Winston as they all prepare to fly to Seattle for Madeline testimony. However, Winston doesn't seem to like the aircraft they brought with to travel, after Madeline calls to inform her boss about the time of their arrival, stating they will both arrive in the next 90 minutes for Winston testimony. They are approached by their pilot named Daryl Booth, who welcomes them well, before informing Madeline that he usually don't like his passengers bore before him, but Madeline tells him this was all for security purpose. Daryl also stated that he has never flew with a fugitive before, but Winston quickly dispatched this by stating he is a witness and not a fugitive. After a short while, Daryl takes off, but just then, Madeline notices a cut on the back of his head, but Booth brushes it off as an occupational hazard. They both continue to discuss about the whole flight and weather, after which he informed Madeline that in 75 minutes' time, they should have landed. Daryl asks Madeline about how long she had been in the Marshal. Madeline informed him, about 8 years now. Just then, a bird hit their plane, but Daryl informed everyone to remain calm, as it is just a bird strike. Fortunately, Winston then looks down at the floor, only to find some documents and photos belonging to the real Daryl Booth. Putting 1 and 2 together, he realized something is very wrong and fishy. Immediately, Winston tries to get the attention of Madeline in order to warn her, but she thinks he is trying to get himself free. Winston continues to insist that she come help him out, stating that he is really feeling sick. However, Daryl turns around to give Winston a sickness bag, unbeknownst to him that he has a blood stain on him, which Madeline notices. She began to also put things together to figure out what is actually going on. Later, Madeline asked Daryl how he knew they were going to Seattle, when she never mentioned it. So quickly, Daryl tried to play it cool by stating it was obvious since it was the closest stop and she doesn't look Alaskan, especially from the way she speaks. Yet again, Madeline requests for his identity card. So, sensing that she is starting to catch on, a serious fight began between Madeline and Daryl, but he easily knocked her out. The pilot reveals himself to be a hitman sent by Moretti to kill Winston, by leaving him and Madeline somewhere for the wildlife to kill them. Winston talks to the hitman about his dealings with Moretti, before trying to offer him a bribe of $1 million in crypto in order for the hitman to spare his life. Unfortunately, Daryl isn't interested in any of his offer. Winston continues to insist he is of the opinion that Daryl spared his life and he promised to ghost himself while he also get paid for not killing or doing anything. More like a win-win for both of them. Just as the two discussed about the whole situation, Madeline began to gain consciousness once she was fully awake. She quickly took out her taser and gets it ready for when the hitman comes back to his seat. Once Daryl was done with his conversation, he goes to tie Madeline. Unbeknownst to him, she is with a taser. Immediately, she zaps him unconscious before going to argue with Winston. Daryl attacked her before getting zapped again. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to get him off her body, which made the plane fly downwards just as they were about reaching ground level. She manages to push him off her body and quickly control the plane. This time, Madeline tied Daryl up and after she was done, Madeline goes to release Winston from his chain so he can help her out. She found some files with the hitman, but she wouldn't want to show it to Winston. However, Winston insisted he wanted to know what the files was about. Madeline then gave it to him. And just then, Winston finds out that the hitman got information on him and his mother to threaten him into cooperating. After a short while, Madeline tries to contact help. So luckily for them, they were able to get connected. But this was only for a short while. Madeline got an idea to make use of her satellite phone to make a call to her colleague. She gets in touch with fellow Deputy Caroline to alert her that the trip has been compromised and that there might be some mole in the department working with Moretti. She also told Caroline to send some agent to go check on Winston's mom. During this moment, the hitman regains consciousness while also offering to help them fly the plane. Fortunately for them, they got in touch with another pilot named Hassan, who guides her through the skies and away to land in Anchorage. While Madeline continues to do according to his instructions. Later, Caroline called him back after her investigates, informing Madeline that the real Daryl Booth was also gruesomely murdered. However, there is a serious problem at hand, as there is a dangerous wind ahead. Madeline tries to overcome this problem, but unknowingly that the hitman had taken a knife. Madeline eventually made the plane stable again. Afterwards, the hitman begins to mock Madeline about an incident from her past. He mentions that someone in her care was burned alive and left to die. Madeline beats the hitman senselessly before nearly knocking him out. Once she was seated, the hitman began trying to free himself while Winston asked Madeline about the incident. Madeline explains that 2 years ago she was made to look after a woman named Maria in Mexico, whose boyfriend had some business with the cartels and she was meant to testify against him. Maria asked to take a bath unsupervised and Madeline allowed her, despite that being against protocol. A sicario ended up throwing a Molotov cocktail through the window. And since Maria was handcuffed to the bathtub, she was unable to flee. And Madeline could not save her. However, due to this incident, she was demoted to a desk job and she has been haunted by her mistake ever since. Meanwhile, the hitman continues to find a way out. Caroline gets back in touch with Madeline and has a team waiting in Anchorage to help her. Madeline starts to get suspicious that Caroline might actually be the leak. She gets in touch with Deputy Director Coleridge to alert him of the situation and to try and catch up to Caroline. Meanwhile, Hassan continued to give Madeline instructions on how to navigate the plane. After a while, Madeline and Winston are able to give Hassan a clue as to their location. On their way, Madeline begins to put different pieces together with Winston. And it seems one of the officers in the team have been receiving payment of $25,000 monthly. Immediately, Madeline realizes that the mole in their team is their director named Coleridge. She called Caroline immediately to warn her about Director Coleridge. Madeline also informed her that she had called him earlier, telling him that she was the leak. Immediately, Madeline apologized to Caroline for not trusting her. Just then, they saw a shipwreck below, so they quickly informed Hassan about it, and this continues to help Hassan figure out their location. Unfortunately for them, the hitman frees himself and stabs Winston twice before attempting to strangle Madeline. To our surprise, Winston bravely pulls the knife out of him and cuts the belt the hitman was using on Madeline. Quickly, the hitman began to shoot at Madeline, but she attacked him back by hitting him with a flare to the chest, and then knocking him out with a fire extinguisher. Madeline goes to apply first aid to Winston, but he is losing a lot of blood and is starting to get weak. Later, Madeline contacts Hassan to try and find a faster way to get to Anchorage. Hassan tells her it is possible, but it might cost them to lose fuel faster, but she vows not to let Winston die. Winston starts to apologize for the crimes he's committed. Madeline starts flying closer towards the landing strip. She tries to contact Caroline again, only to be answered by Coleridge, who informs Madeline that he is afraid that Madeline was right about Caroline, unknowingly to him that Madeline already knew he was the leak. Coleridge informed Madeline that Caroline got into a fatal car accident, presumably hit by one of Moretti's goons. This made Madeline furiously blow up on Coleridge and says she knows he is the leak and that she will expose him. After which, she called Hassan back for his help. He instructed her to put the radio frequency on 121.5. Just as Madeline communicated, 2 carrier jets fly next to the plane to make sure they don't endanger civilians by potentially crashing. But the hitman tries to attack again, and Madeline shoots him twice. Hassan frantically tries to guide Madeline as she starts to lose control of the plane and also even fuel. But Hassan told her it is a good thing as the plane would be less flammable in case it crashes. Nearby, Winston starts to lose consciousness. Immediately, Madeline begins to attempt landing, but struggled to put the plane on a steady hold. Police and paramedics also arrive at the scene, and Madeline makes a really bad rough landing. The plane door opens, and the hitman is ejected from the plane, landing on the strip where he is run over by the trucks following behind the plane. The plane comes to a halt. Quickly, Madeline rushed to wake Winston, and luckily, he was still alive. The medics arrive for Winston. They also inform Madeline that the hitman couldn't make it alive as he fell off the plane. Madeline meets Hassan face to face for a moment, until she spots another one of Moretti's goons going into the ambulance with Winston. Madeline runs over in time to witness the assassin, trying to suffocate Winston until she shoots him dead. She grabs the assassin's phone to directly speak to Coleridge, assuring him that he is going down. The movie then came to an end. Thanks for watching guys, and please don't be afraid to subscribe as free, and when you do so don't forget to turn on the notification button. Make sure you like and comment on what you think about the movie. See you in the next one and have a nice day, bye.